Good morning. We're here today to answer some of the questions that members have sent us about the house that we're buying. And one of the ones that I'm going to answer today, or try to give you some information, is why were all the houses that we looked at in Forest Glen? Well, they weren't. We have been working on this process for a long time, even before COVID started. And some of the other houses that we looked in were in the Crescent and Country Club Hills, as well as Forest Glen. Now, the difficulty is in the number of houses that become available that fit the criterion that we needed to go by for the parsonage. And the opportunity at this house was that it was move-in ready. We're very fortunate that the homeowner is working as we speak on some of the issues that they mentioned in the inspection that he had. So that was a plus. And another one was that a lot of the homes that we looked at, they wanted to sell them. And as we are seeing, for those of us who've never done this, the process of buying the parsonage and going through all the requirements that the conference has set up takes time. And a lot of owners are not willing to wait at least 6 weeks or 2 months or more to go through that process. So that's some of why we chose this house, not necessarily the location, although that was a primary consideration for this house. Another item that we had to consider was several of the houses that we looked at had projects that we would have to complete before we moved in. There was one that was also in Forest Glen that had a basement, but it was roughed in but not finished. We would have had to have completed a roughed-in bathroom as well as finished a room that would have been a bedroom. So that was some of the considerations that we had. There were a couple that we had that had pools, and we just decided that that was not something that we needed to have at the parsonage. So with what was out there, that's what limited us in how we took care of that.
I understand that there have been a number of questions reference the renovation of Building 1. These questions have come as part of the discussion of the parsonage renovation building. Building 1 renovation is still on schedule to be accomplished when the church is able to open its operations yet again. It's still a priority. The questions seem to revolve around some of the changes in regulations or other issues which may or may not happen or have happened or will happen. But the truth of the matter is that Building 1 renovation is still a top priority of the church. And I believe it will be even a greater priority as we move into the world after the virus is finished with us. The need for the objectives that were existent for the need still will be, and even more so prevalent, I think, in the future. Building 1 renovation is still, albeit on hold, a priority of the church.
Is there a deadline for abatement to be done?
To my knowledge, there is no deadline for the abatement. And if there does become one before we finish the process, we'll just have to deal with it. There'll always be, I think, there'll always be a way to abate asbestos in the state of North Carolina. It's not going anywhere. We have to do something with it, so it'll be there. And even if it is more difficult than it is now, which there's no evidence that it will be, but if it is, we'll just have to figure out a way to deal with it. So nothing has changed to my knowledge that would make Building 1 renovation any more of a challenge than it is today.
A question has come up about the homeowner's fee for the Forest Glen subdivision where the prospective parsonage is located. And I just wanted to speak to that as someone who's been living in the neighborhood. It's $850 paid as $425 every 6 months. What this fee gets is mostly the membership to the pool and use of the tennis courts as well as the walking trail. It also covers the general landscaping maintenance around the neighborhood.
And one of the questions we had, actually several people ask, what were we planning on doing with the existing parsonage? So first off, put anybody's concerns to rest. We're not going to sell the parsonage and the land. We actually, the land that the parsonage is on actually is connected to the same plot as the sanctuary. So you'd have to get into basically redoing the land to actually sell that as far as plotting it out with the city and the county. But essentially, we don't want to sell property right in the middle of our property. So we're not going to sell the parsonage and the land that it's on. Also, questions are asked about renting it. And the church has already decided that they don't like being in the home rental business, not to mention the fact that if we did rent the parsonage, we're still responsible for the upkeep of the current building. And so renting it doesn't get rid of the problems that we're looking at now. So that leaves us to what are our options. So one is we could possibly sell the parsonage and have it moved. Now, we don't know what the market is at this time for selling a home that has to be moved off of the property, but that's definitely something that we're considering. I know previously we've had a home that we actually essentially gave away, but the person that took the home was responsible for moving the home off the property and then leveling the property. So that's another thought that we've had. We've also considered just tearing the home down. That would come with expenses. We're hoping we don't have to do that, but that is still one possibility. And that was even mentioned too that we could actually have the fire department come out and do a controlled burn, which would be probably a less expensive way of getting rid of the building. But once again, our hopes are that we could sell it in some manner. And I think that's probably covers all the options that we've considered at this point. Thank you.
There were some questions about the process that we are going on and what the Book of Discipline states that we need to be doing when it comes to purchasing a parsonage. If you go to the website, milfordhillsumc.org/parsonage, or if you look on the top and see new parsonage, you can see that I laid out the plan of and the process of where we've been and where we need to go. Currently, this is Monday, November 23rd, and last night the district board of church building and location met and approved that house to be purchased as a parsonage. And so we have passed that part. The last section, or the last piece to kind of come to fruition and make this a reality is what's called a church conference. This really only happens a few times, and when purchasing land or building, this is one of the times where every member of the church will get a vote. Once we are able to set up how and when we'll be doing this, we will let you all know. Our hope is to send a letter out in the early part of December to let you know exactly when that will be happening and how we will be doing it. But during COVID, it's very different. If this was not COVID, we all gather in the sanctuary, we do a presentation, and then take a vote. So we're working on how to make this happen during this time. But there was one question that during the church conference that happened at the beginning or on the 15th of November of why I personally led that meeting and not the chair of church council. So just so that we're transparent with everything, the Book of Discipline states that when there is a church conference that the pastor or the elder, an ordained elder, has to be the one in charge of that meeting. Because I am an ordained elder, that means I have the privilege to do it for our church, which is fine. If I was not ordained or if I was a deacon, then we would have to bring in an elder to oversee that meeting. And so that's one reason why Tripp, who is our church council chair, had to kind of relinquish control for those two meetings to me to lead us through that time. So I appreciate everyone's patience. This is the polity of the church. It is the setup this way so that we can make sure there's checks and balances and we're following suit with everything. Our district superintendent has been up to date with everything that we are doing. And so, we thank you for your patience, and please be on the lookout for the announcement of a church council meeting. We will be having some town hall meetings as well. We're setting those dates up currently, and we want to let you know as soon as you can about what will be happening both virtually and some in-person opportunities as well. So thank you again.